I am Melanie Needle from the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, and with us this evening also is Margot Gia from the Wyndham Regional Commission, Sarah Ludwin Perry from Green Mountain Power, Graham Turk from Green Mountain Power. And I'm so happy that we have representation from Green Mountain Power and regional planning commissions. It's a real testament to how well we work with our electric distribution utilities. GMP has been really helpful in energy planning along the way, as many municipalities have adopted enhanced energy plans. And so this is kind of the first of this kind, doing a joint RPC utility webinar for educational purposes. If you like it, there will be a survey at the end of the webinar to get some feedback. We can do more of these kinds of educational webinars. Many of the municipalities that have enhanced energy plans have policies and goals in their energy plans that express policies for energy committee members or planning commission members to sort of lead by example and demonstrate to the community the energy transformation in the transportation and heating sector. Many of that information, a lot of that information is going to be talked about this evening by GMP staff. And it really speaks to the power and influence that energy committee members and town officials have with educating residents and businesses. And you know, that your area of influence really lies in that education and leading by example. So by attending this webinar, you know, you're helping to further the implementation of your energy plan. Sarah, can you advance it to the next slide? So as many of you already know, you probably have experience working on your town or energy plan. As of the end of the fiscal year 2020, regional planning commissions around the state of Vermont assisted with the creation of 84 energy plans. So 84 of our communities have energy plans. And the energy planning work in the municipalities focuses on clean, renewable, sustainable, and affordable energy. It's an integration with land use, transportation, and natural resource efforts. So the energy plans seek to balance land use with natural resources, and also talk a lot about electric vehicles, cold climate heat pumps. So that is a lot of the information that GMP is going to present on this evening. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah and Graham.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us. We're really excited to be here tonight. I'm sure you've all heard about GMP before and know a little bit about our overall approach to empowering customers, keeping communities connected, and transforming the grid. And we're here today to tell you about some ways that you and your community can save money while reducing carbon pollution. Our clean energy supply is the foundation of all of our work. We focus on making clean power near where it's going to be used. Right now, that means that we're 95% carbon free and 64% renewable, and we have goals to be 100% carbon free by 2025 and 100% renewable by 2030. Electrification is essential for us because it allows us to cut costs and carbon emissions. And in Vermont, the biggest emitters are driving, transportation, and heating. So we're going to be focusing on that quite a bit in this presentation. And we've already been recognized for our work as a national leader in energy transformation, including being featured in the Smart Electric Power Alliance's 2021 leaderboard. Part of our work includes our proactive climate plan, which focuses on targeted initiatives to make the grid more resilient. Our goal is to prevent outages from happening and recover more quickly when they do happen. And this is about building on innovative initiatives in addition to our regular grid, which feature faster timelines and resiliency zones. Resiliency zone is a new term that we're coming out with. We're focusing on creating community hubs that stay connected even when the lights go out, with interventions that include batteries, local generation sources like solar, and communications infrastructure. And each resiliency zone will be a custom plan done in partnership with the community of interest. For now, we're limiting ourselves to some targeted outreach to particular towns in Vermont, but we intend to grow this program in the future. Some of you might have read about our Panton microgrid, and this is the kind of work that we're really excited to continue doing. We also offer a wide variety of incentives to empower our customers to take action. These include programs for electric vehicles and charging, heating and cooling, energy storage, as well as a wide variety of custom projects. This picture here is the photo of the head baker at King Arthur Flour in front of their new electric oven. GMP incentives help them switch from fossil fuel ovens to electric ovens so that they can save on fuel and reduce carbon emissions. And in fact, it turns out that the new oven holds the temperature better, so they're able to bake better baguettes and more of them. One of the exciting new initiatives that we've just started is a workplace charging pilot program. Why are we focusing on workplace charging? There are a bunch of reasons. First of all, people are 6 times more likely to purchase EVs if they have access to charging at work, according to a 2016 Department of Energy study. Workplace charging can also attract customers, and it's perfect for anyone who's already considering incorporating electric vehicles into their fleet. And finally, people at work during our high solar hours, so it's the perfect time to charge up EVs and run on solar energy. Our program offers a turnkey package that lowers barriers for businesses by removing upfront costs and providing low interest financing through the Vermont Economic Development Agency. And eligible customers are all existing GMP commercial customers. So offices, hotels, retail stores, schools, municipal buildings, condos, ski resorts, car dealerships, auto shops, basically anyone who's a commercial customer, and we're interested in working with towns on this as well. And GMP is currently offering a workplace charging rebate for $750 per port, which in most cases will cover the down payment costs. So then participating customers will just have a simple monthly payment. We're also working with 2 software providers, AmpUp and Zeal, who offer bundle options starting at $15 per port per month. And this will allow you to collect revenue and track usage, and offers tiered and dynamic pricing options. Finally, while this program will run into 2022, we're encouraging people to take advantage of it in 2021 because there's a 30% up to $30,000 tax credit for commercial EV charging. If you or anyone you know is interested in learning more, please email businessinnovation@greenmountainpower.com to set up a site visit and get the process started. And I'll pause here to answer questions. And we have Tom Porter from Vita here as well tonight, who can answer questions too.
Sarah, there was a question that was posted to the chat from Patrick McKee. He asked, are resiliency zones limited to towns, villages, etc.? How about a rural condo development of 25 to 30 homes?
So right now we are limiting them to towns because we think that is the best level of government to be working with. But as I mentioned earlier, this is really in a pilot stage, and we're interested in definitely doing more in the future. And if you are a condo association who would like to learn more about ways that you could build your resiliency, you should definitely feel free to get in touch with us anytime.
Another question, Sarah, came up in the chat from Spencer Putnam. Are users charged for these workplace EV charging units?
By user, do you mean the workplace or the person charging their vehicle?
Person charging.
Great. So the answer is it can depend. So I talked about those different bundle options for software. So you can, depending on the way that the workplace wants to do it, you could either allow your customers or employees to charge for free, or you could charge them. And part of the dynamic pricing package includes the option to have different people pay different prices. So for example, you could offer your employees charging at just the cost of electricity while charging customers more, or the other way around, or perhaps free charging for your own fleet vehicles.
So Thomas Porter put a link to the GMP Vita Workplace Charging Station Programming Financing info in the chat. So if anyone hasn't seen that in the chat, please note that that is there. If there's no further questions, then maybe we can continue to the next part of our presentation.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Graham, are you here?
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you great.
I made it. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We're now going to move on to some of our other rebates, incentives, and programs. And so going to go through EVs first while we're on the topic of charging, and then move into some of the other exciting programs we have. So first is an EV point of sale incentive. We're working with, I think it's now up to 15 car dealerships around the state. We're able to offer an incentive right at the point of sale. So it comes off either the lease price or the purchase price. And it's for both all electric and plug-in hybrids, in addition to used all electric and plug-in hybrids. And the great thing about this is it can be stacked with the various other incentives for electric vehicles, like our state incentive, the federal tax credit, and any manufacturer incentives that are offered, plus a low and moderate income rebate. I think that a common refrain we hear is that EVs are only for the wealthy. And when you look at all of these incentives, in addition to the costs you save on fuel, it starts to tell a very different story, with the total cost of ownership of electric vehicles being among the lowest of any cars you could buy. Sarah, you can go to the next one. Awesome. So a couple more incentives in the EV space. We have now a partnership with Nissan where they're offering a $5,000 discount on the Nissan Leaf. I have one, it drives great, and $2,500 for the Leaf Plus, in addition to employee discounts at a few GM dealerships throughout the state. And I don't know if anyone saw it, but GM actually announced recently that they're planning to only make electric vehicles by 2035. So very exciting times from the manufacturers. We've got a $200 e-bike rebate when purchased from local Vermont bike shops. And then any purchase or lease of an electric vehicle comes with a free level 2 smart home charger. This is one that would charge your EV in between 4 and 6 hours. And so most of the time people would plug in at night when they get home. On one of our EV rates, the charging would either get deferred, you can schedule it to later in the evening, or there's an option for you don't have to do anything, and we will manage the charger when electricity prices are most expensive. And we've got about 500 customers on those rates now. All you need to participate is one of our chargers, and it comes for free with any EV purchase or lease. So meant to be just another way to help get down the total cost of ownership for electric vehicles and help people make the transition to driving electric. Awesome. Then on the business side, so Sarah touched on our workplace charging program. That's the one on the bottom left. We also just have a $750 to $1,500 rebate, depending on what charger you're installing. If a workplace would like to install or purchase a charger outright outside of the Vita loan program, the same $1,500 rebate for electric fleets. And then just now starting to see the first electric school and transit buses arriving in Vermont, slated for this fall. And we have the ability to work with fleet operators, with school districts, to provide a custom package of these incentives, helping to cover charging infrastructure as well as offsetting the cost of the vehicle. And so really excited. It's still early days in the electric bus world, but we'll be able to get some great data from the buses slated to arrive this fall. And then on the public charging side, there's been a lot of activity in building out what's called the fast charging network. So this is chargers that are meant for road trips. When you're on the go, they can charge an EV up to 100% in between 20 and 45 minutes, and really key for helping people feel comfortable that regardless of where they're driving in the state or outside of the state, they'll be able to find a place to charge. So on the left side, the orange is all the existing sites, and then the yellow, green and blue are sites that will be built with the support of a state grant from the Volkswagen settlement funds. And so once these sites are completed, they're pretty much, I don't think they'll be anywhere in the state. You'll be more than 30 miles away from the nearest charger, which is a key goal of the administration, and one that we're helping to support through a variety of programs, including helping to offset the cost of make-ready work, which are things like replacing a transformer, doing a line extension. And then on the right, real quick, the yellow, I'm sorry, am I colorblind? Yes, green. The green dots here are level 2 sites. So those are the type that Sarah had mentioned before, at workplaces, at hotels, points of interest that are meant for slightly longer times to be parked. And the purple on this are the same as the orange on the left. Those are the fast charging sites. As I hinted at before, very exciting time in the EV world. We have a lot of new models coming out, new manufacturers that are pledging to only make electric vehicles. And so I think in the past, model availability was a key challenge. There wasn't an EV for everybody, whether you needed all-wheel drive or a longer range. I think that has changed already, and we'll continue to see that change with even the first electric pickup trucks slated to come to the market in this and next year. And happy to showcase any of the EVs. I think I actually have it on the next slide. Sarah did. Is that there? Yes. So a few of the many EVs slated to come out. The Mustang, actually, we've got one in our fleet right now. It is quite fast and fun to drive. And the Rivian, which is a new EV company that is also doing electric vans, on the bottom right. And then, of course, the Ford F-150, which, given how popular those are in the state, we're hoping that can convert some even of the most hardcore pickup enthusiasts. Great, I'll stop there real quick, though. Any questions on our EV incentives before I switch over to the heat pump and electric heating side?
So Graham, there was a question from Carl Baer, and it says, at the Vermont Climate Council, they reported the state does not count GHGs emitted from power generated for electricity. When can we expect that analysis?
So not familiar with that analysis. We have our own goals under the renewable energy standard in Vermont, which specifies that all utilities have an increasing percentage of their portfolio coming from renewables. And so that's done with really stringent reporting each year. We're now, as Sarah mentioned, up to about 60% renewable and 94% carbon free, the gap between those being nuclear. And so happy to point Carl or anyone to resources around our own mix. I'm not sure where exactly I'd find for other utilities throughout the state, but it is part of the renewable energy standard reporting that we do annually. And the Energy Action Network also published their report recently that shows all of the different sources of emissions in Vermont by source, and transportation and heating are by far the dominant ones. So electricity, I think, is even behind agriculture at this point, with a very clean grid. I think it was ranked number 1 or 2 in terms of the cleanest grids in the country in a New York Times study. And so I think we often get asked about, well, if I switch to electric, is it really that much better? And the answer in Vermont is yes. And even anywhere in the country, it's very likely to be a big emission saver. But the cleaner your energy mix is, the better it is. And because of how renewable and clean our mix is for our energy supply, it's a massive greenhouse gas savings when you make that transition.
I'm not currently seeing anything else in the chat or in the question and answers.
Okay, we can move on to heating. So this is another really exciting area where cold climate heat pumps, I don't know if anyone in the audience, is there a way to raise hands? Can the audience raise their hand? Maybe. I guess I'll just ask it. Who has a cold climate heat pump? You can raise it even if I can't see it. I'm going to guess that it's at least a third of you. So great news. No, but cold climate heat pumps have come a long way. So, in large thanks to the work done by groups like Efficiency Vermont, they're getting much more efficient in cold weather. They really can be a whole home solution. There's centrally ducted heat pumps, and then geothermal is a solution that can be great for new builds. But we, in 2020, which was, as crazy a year as it was, and didn't expect to see huge uptake of really any technology, there were 10,000 customers who claimed our heat pump rebates, and a huge boon to the local installer community, and a really great story around carbon savings, just because of how, in most cases, they're used to displace either fuel oil, or propane. And so on the residential side, we have a $400 rebate per condenser and an extra $600 for low and moderate income customers. And then on the commercial side, often our projects are a little bit more custom. Every site is different, but we'll work with large office buildings, gyms, multifamily unit apartments that are all looking at making this transition, and in many cases can be the most cost-effective one, in addition to saving a lot of carbon emissions. On the energy storage front, so real quick on energy storage, this is both our residential incentives and offerings right here. It has become a really key way for many customers to have resilience. And Sarah mentioned resiliency zones. That is a way to expand this, so that in addition to backing up individual homes, we can also look to do it at the community scale. But depending on where you live, residential backup might be a great option to replace something like a generator. And with these programs, it's fairly seamless. They kick on right away during an outage. They can be paired with solar, so you can stay up and running well beyond just one single charge of the battery. And we have two programs. One is called Bring Your Own Device, where you would purchase and install a battery, and we provide an incentive to help offset that upfront cost in exchange for sharing access to the battery, which we dispatch when electricity is most expensive. The Powerwall program, very similar to how we're using the batteries, but it's slightly different in the structure, where rather than purchasing and owning, in this case, you'd be leasing from GMP, and we're collaborating with 6 installers that do the installation work. But in any case, it would be $55 a month for a 10-year lease, and you don't have to worry about maintenance. That's all baked in, and we've got now about, I think, 3,000 customers participating in one of these two programs. So it's a fun thing to see roll out. I think not many people think of Vermont as a major leader in deploying energy storage. When you look at some other states that have a lot more funding and a lot more companies active in the space, but we are really out ahead of this, and we're able to use these assets to bring down costs for everyone by dispatching them at times where it's best for the grid. Just a couple testimonials we've seen from customers who have these storage units in their home. Always nice during our storm events when we hear from these customers, because they're able to stay up and running even through multi-day outages at times, especially if they have solar, where they're able to recharge the battery even when they're disconnected from the grid. Awesome. And then more recently, we've launched a few incentives for lawn care, yard care equipment, in addition to tractors and push mowers, and again, the electric bicycle rebate here. And all of these are, when purchasing from Vermont retailers, we really want to help leverage our programs to drive business to local Vermont stores. And these are awesome devices that in many cases not only are great for emissions, but also just easier to operate, more fun. You're not getting a puff of smoke in your face when you're cutting your lawn. So we've got really great feedback from customers who've used these, that they're just easier and simpler. And then lastly, just wanted to highlight some of our climate commitments. And so in 2019, we divested our pension funds from fossil fuels. We've signed the Drive Electric Pledge, which says that whenever we have a vehicle to replace in our own fleet, that if there is a viable electric alternative, we will take that over the gas or diesel variant. With bucket trucks, this is still a little tricky. There's not quite an affordable bucket truck that's electric yet, but we are getting one with the help of a grant that's slated to arrive later this year. And so will be a great test of what electric can do in the heavier duty sector. And then lastly, above and beyond the renewable energy standard goal, we have our own internal goal of achieving 100% renewable by 2030. in addition with deploying a lot of storage, so we can balance those renewables and help deploy them in places that make most sense and get the most out of their operating profile. Great, so that is all I have on the slides. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. I so appreciate showing up on a spring day. I wish it were sunnier out and, and warmer, but really appreciate the interest and